Okay, so I'm going to show you some videos that I wanted to reference because I remembered that I did one of these about a year and a half ago. Kind of the same basic issues that you have. And I'd forgot that I had to do the intake manifold on his. I did the valve cover, this part that you put on. And yours isn't going to be reusable even though it's brand new. It sucks. But that hole that you put that through, that big bolt through, is not good anymore. It's got a chip in it, and this thing has to be sealed. So I'm going to put this back on for the time being, because when you do this, you want to do all the stuff brand new together. If you put one part in old, one part in new, stuff like that, it can ruin the new stuff if you don't have it. Okay, so when I first brought this in the other day, I have another video when I first opened the hood, I noticed that there was a lot of, so if you look at this intake manifold, it's pretty dry back here. There's a little bit of fluid. But as you get over here, it gets shinier and it's wet. See how that's all wet? And you've got like puddles of oil pooling up like right down there. Okay, I thought maybe the valve cover was leaking. This is where the valve cover was. I have not cleaned it. All I did was lifted the valve cover up. So I looked behind here, right below it, there's no oil running down there. If it was leaking there, it would be running down and getting this silver part all oily. And I don't see if you go all along where the valve cover is here, this part, I don't know if you can see that, but this part right here is where the valve cover sits. If it was leaking out, it would be running down and going into this silver area. So I'm following all along here and looking down in those crevices, into those spaces, and it's dry. There you go, down below here. Dry. Now, you do have, this side seems to be pretty dry on the plastic. Then it starts to get a little wet and shiny. Then it starts to get really wet, okay? Now, I forgot, this hose that busted, the one that cracked, it goes on there, and it runs down to your turbo right here. It's got the broken piece over there. I think what was happening here was, this is a big thing. This part is a big part of your idle and all that. It looks to me like oil has been, pressure has been coming up out of here and oil's been blowing out here, because if you notice, it all starts right around this area. This over here is dry. You get right into this area and you start to see oil, and then it gets a lot of oil. I think that the pressure is getting built up in here and pushing back out and blowing oil out. And if you look down in that hole, see that charcoaly, crusty stuff? That's not good. That's inside your intake manifold. So, when this is on here, I think it was blowing back pressure and getting this hose hot. That's what made this thing get all brittle and crack. It was so the reason you probably didn't see it is because there's a snorkel. This part goes right here, and this is hidden underneath it. This clips onto here, and then it clips onto there. So it sits in a fixed space. So you couldn't see this crack, because once it's in there and fastened like that, this part goes over the top like that. So you couldn't see that hose down there. That hose connects right there at that silver hole opening. So if you're looking from the top, you're never going to see it. But that hose was definitely cracked. So, putting this all together, seeing the signs of the oil kind of starting around this port, being that this hose cracked, and if you look inside there, there's a lot of oil in there, and it's brown like it's gotten hot. I think it's been building up pressure inside there, pushing the pressure back through this hose, blowing oil out, getting this hose hot, getting this hose oily. It cracked, and so it causes a vacuum leak. Now, along with saying that this part, that valve cover, has to sit over here and it has to be sealed completely, because it builds up, you'll see in the video, there's air chambers inside this thing that run along in here that have to fill with air, and they have to build up pressure. And yours is leaking down here, so it can't build up the pressure inside this chamber to fill that. But along with this being sealed, this has to be sealed and not backed up and building up pressure to blow oil and stuff back out. So this intake manifold needs to be done too. I'll show you the video to explain it better and you'll understand. Because I know if you don't know cars, it sounds like a lot of blah, 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 blah. But when you see the videos and hear the people talking about this, it makes more sense. And I did have to do one of these jobs about a year and a half ago, and I had to replace all of that stuff, and I'd forgotten. So I will show you the videos that I found and let you see this.